Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure. It is exciting to be invited to speak with you today. We are going to have such a fun time, and I have no doubt that you will all leave very inspired and full. We're going to experience both the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine within ourselves and allow for some question and answer time at the end. My name is Raechel Morrow. I help people find the parts of themselves that they thought they had to hide to succeed, or the parts of themselves that they maybe forgot before the world told them how they had to be. I guide people through the archetypal, the embodied, the psychological, the energetics, and the spiritual aspects of transformation. So I want to start first with one of the Gnostic texts, the Book of Thomas. Now, the Gnostic text, Gnostic means knowledge, and not the knowledge that we necessarily learn from books, but rather the self-knowledge, the capital S. It's the sacred knowledge of the divine within you, that which is in all. So, of Thomas, verse 22, Jesus said to them, when you make the two one, and when you make the inner as the outer, and the outer is the inner, and the above as the below, when you make the male and the female into a single one, when the male will not be male and the female will not be female, then you shall enter. Then you shall enter the kingdom of heaven. So what if I were to say that I am really leaning towards this idea that Jesus knew that to enter the kingdom of heaven, you had to be non-dualistic. You had to have your masculine and feminine energies in balance. That all of creation is essentially masculine and feminine energies that have learned to co-create. So it's not this sacred union of man and woman that Jesus is speaking about, a marriage, but it's rather an alchemy, a reconciliation of opposites, of finally recognizing that duality does not promote wholeness. So interesting. He says, make the two one, which is that integration of dualities, the light and dark. We need the light and the dark. We're often taught in repressive religion to fear the dark, or the dark is represented as Satan or the devil, right? This idea that you have to be obedient and be fearful, because if you make one wrong move, one mistake, and you just crack that door open just a little bit to Satan, man, he's gonna pounce you. Your fault. You left the door cracked open, and now you're a lost cause. You're gonna have to repent and crawl on your knees for goodness knows how long to be worthy again. Here's the thing, is that we know that it is the darkness. It's not an actual evil, but it's any time that the vibration of our true self doesn't align with the current vibration in our body. So I'll say that again. Darkness is any time that our vibration, our current vibration of our soul, of our being, isn't aligning with our truest, highest self. And it creates suffering. It creates a darkness. And incidentally, we can learn quite a bit from our darkness. And we don't have to be afraid of our darkness, but it's actually learning how to build resiliency and how to be with the dark to be able to enter into the light. The consciousness and the unconsciousness, the masculine and the feminine, the two become one. He talks about the inner and the outer, that your external life needs to reflect your inner world and vice versa. Above as below. Which is, we are not separate, that heaven isn't a place up in the sky, and we aren't separate from the earth, that divinity is found within the human experience. It's found within us. This is why each of you are so important. And you know this, that there is up-leveling, a rise in consciousness, and all of you are very much a part of that. We're experiencing something very special. In the Gospel of Thomas, in verse 23, Jesus said, I shall choose you 1 from 1,000 and 2 from 10,000, and they shall stand as a single one. And what I think that means is Jesus understood the rarity of true inner awakening, that a spiritual initiation, and that's what I take women through in the journey of the sacred feminine in these 11 phases, is not walked by very many. That there are few that become one. There are few that actually shed division, shed identity, shed illusion, shed dualism. And at the end, right, of the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, and now what I wrote, the journey to the sacred feminine, the idea at the end is there's a unification of the fragmented self. In all three of those models, the end of that journey, that spiritual journey, there is a unification of your fragmented self, realizing that you are inherently wholeness. I'd like to know what you guys think of this verse. In the Gospel of Thomas, in verse 114, Simon Peter said to them, let Mary leave us, for women are not worthy of life. And Jesus said, look, I shall guide her so as to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every woman who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. The first time I read that, I was outraged, and I just knew there had to be more. Peter represents the orthodox, the external, the hierarchical, the masculine religious authority that has caused so much harm. It was the perfect representation right there in the text of religious misogyny. But here's the thing. I think Jesus knew exactly what he was saying. I think he was revealing more of a mystical path. He says, I will guide her to make her male. I don't think he was talking about literal gender. Remember, in the Gnostic texts, we're talking more male and female in alchemical terms, in energetic principles. I did some digging. I thought, wait a minute. It really contradicts the previous text of being non-dualistic and the united of the two polarities. I said, is Jesus saying that the masculine is superior? Or is he pointing to something deeper? I need to know that. Jesus saying that masculine energy is superior? No. I think what he again is really stressing that the end of the journey, the pathway to wholeness, is about integration of those two energies. That Mary doesn't need to abandon her sacred feminine, but she needed to activate more of the sacred masculine energy within her. To not be only one half of the duality. You see, the sacred feminine is the same thing as our soul. It already is that sacred, direct unity with the divine consciousness. It already is. The divine is within the sacred feminine. Nothing more needs to happen. Nothing more needs to change. All we need to do to be with our sacred feminine is to be, to receive, to listen, to know. But without the integration of the sacred masculine, we then don't have the action. We don't have the clarity. We don't have the clarity of the why we're doing what we're doing. The sacred masculine wants so desperately to be guided by the sacred feminine. The sacred masculine's job is to protect and serve the feminine, and it wants to protect and it wants to do in the name of your soul. But without the masculine, then there's not that direction, there's not that why. And it leads to depletion and immense, horrible imbalance is what we've really seen from really repressive religious and misogyny. And both are fully awakened. Do we have true divinity? That is when we awaken to our true divinity.